The destroyer escort rammed the submarine. The two ships locked together. And then American sailors did something no one had done in 100 years. They boarded an enemy warship with their fists. This is the story of the last hand-to-hand naval battle in American history. May 6, 1944. North Atlantic Ocean. USS Buckley was hunting. She was a destroyer escort, DE-51. Small, fast, built for one purpose: kill German U-boats. The ship had been commissioned exactly 1 year earlier, April 30th, 1943. Her commanding officer was Lieutenant Commander Brent Maxwell Abel, 32 years old, Naval Academy graduate. Abel was calm, professional, aggressive, exactly the kind of officer you wanted hunting submarines. Buckley was part of a hunter-killer group built around the escort carrier USS Block Island. Their mission was simple: find U-boats, sink them. By May 1944, the Battle of the Atlantic was turning in the Allies' favor. But the U-boats were still deadly. And the Germans were desperate. 200 miles off the coast of West Africa, a German submarine was running low on fuel. Low. A Type IXC U-boat, 252 feet long, armed with torpedoes and deck guns. She'd been at sea since January. 4 brutal months in the Atlantic. Her commander was Oberleutnant Xerxes Gerhard Seehausen. This was U-66's 9th War Patrol. She needed fuel to make it home to Germany. U-66 was supposed to rendezvous with a supply submarine. That would refuel her at sea. On the night of May 5th to 6th, U-66 surfaced to search for the supply boat. The night was perfect. Calm, clear, moonlit. Seehausen ordered his crew to charge the batteries and scan the horizon. But 20 miles away, something was watching. At 2:16 a.m., a TBF Avenger night fighter from Block Island picked up a radar contact. The pilot was Lieutenant Junior Grade Jimmy J. Sellers. He immediately radioed USS Buckley. Surface contact, 20 miles from your position. Lieutenant Commander Abel didn't hesitate. All ahead, flank, set course for the target. Buckley surged forward at 23.5 knots. Maximum speed. For 45 minutes, the destroyer escort raced toward the U-boat. Lieutenant Sellers stayed overhead, tracking U-66 and relaying course corrections to Buckley. Seehausen spotted the aircraft. He knew what it meant. An American plane meant an American ship was nearby. But Seehausen was a veteran. He'd survived 8 patrols. He ordered his crew to battle stations and kept U-66 on the surface. If he submerged now, he'd be blind. Better to fight on the surface where he could see. At 3:10 a.m., Buckley's radar picked up the U-boat. Range, UN each 10 yards. Abel ordered the crew to general quarters. Every man to his battle station. Gunners loaded the 3-inch main battery. Machine gunners readied the 40mm and 20mm mounts. The range closed rapidly. Lu 10 yards, Si 10 yards, Liang 10 yards. At 1,800 yards, U-66 fired first. A single torpedo. Abel saw the phosphorescent wake racing toward his ship. Hard right rudder. Buckley turned sharply. The torpedo missed by 50 yards. Abel ordered return fire. Buckley's 3-inch guns opened up. Shells screamed across the water. U-66 returned fire with her 37mm and 20mm deck guns. The two ships closed to within 300 yards. Machine gun tracers lit up the darkness. This was no longer modern naval warfare. This was a gunfight. U-66 fired another torpedo. It passed directly under Buckley's bow. Too close to arm. A dud. Seehausen realized he couldn't win a gun battle. He ordered a crash dive. But U-66 was too close to Buckley. And Abel saw his chance. Prepare to ram. Buckley turned hard and accelerated directly at the submarine. The destroyer escorts reinforced bow. Crashed into U-66 just forward of the conning tower. The impact was massive. The submarine's pressure hull buckled. Water poured into the forward torpedo room. But U-66 didn't sink. The two ships locked together. Buckley's bow wedged on top of the submarine's deck. From the air, Lieutenant Sellers watched in amazement. He radioed Block Island. Buckley has rammed the sub. They're stuck together. Boy, I have never seen such a thing. German sailors poured out of the conning tower. They opened fire with machine pistols and rifles. Buckley's gunners fired back. 40mm Bofors guns raked the submarine's deck. 20mm cannons cut down German sailors as they emerged. Then American sailors grabbed rifles. Shotguns, pistols, anything they could find, and opened fire at point-blank range. The range was so close that Buckley's gunners couldn't depress their weapons low enough. So they grabbed coffee cups, wrenches, anything not bolted down, and threw them at the Germans. One sailor grabbed a sheath knife, leaned over the rail, and stabbed a German sailor climbing onto Buckley's deck. Another American sailor picked up an empty shell casing, threw it at a German gunner, hit him square in the head, knocked him unconscious. For 16 minutes, the two crews fought. Shooting, stabbing, throwing. American sailors fired shotguns loaded with buckshot directly into the submarine's conning tower. The noise was deafening. Gunfire, screaming, metal tearing. Finally, Buckley's engines reversed. The destroyer escort pulled free. U-66, badly damaged, tried to maneuver, but her steering was destroyed. The submarine circled uncontrollably and slammed back into Buckley. This time, the collision destroyed U-66's propeller shaft. The submarine was dead in the water. As the two ships separated again, an American sailor on Buckley's fantail saw an opening in U-66's conning tower. He pulled the pin on a hand grenade and threw it. The grenade sailed through the air, dropped perfectly into the open hatch, and exploded inside the submarine. Fire erupted from the conning tower. U-66's crew abandoned ship. German sailors jumped into the Atlantic. Moments later, U-66 began to sink. Oberleutnant Seehausen stood on the conning tower. He refused to abandon his ship. He went down with U-66. Buckley circled back to pick up survivors. 36 German sailors were pulled from the water. Many were severely wounded. Buckley's crew gave them medical treatment, dry clothes, hot coffee. The battle was over. But Buckley was damaged. Her bow was bent to port from the ramming. Holes from German gunfire riddled her hull. But she was still seaworthy. Lieutenant Commander Abel ordered a course for Boston. Buckley sailed home under her own power. When the ship arrived in Boston on May 13th, reporters mobbed the dock. The story of the hand-to-hand combat with a U-boat had made headlines across America. It was the first boarding action in U.S. Navy history since the War of 1812. Lieutenant Commander Abel was awarded the Navy Cross. USS Buckley received the Navy Unit Commendation. Every man aboard received a personal letter of commendation. The action report detailed the ammunition expended: 105 rounds of 3-inch shells, 2,700 rounds of 20 mm ammunition, 418 rounds of 40mm shells, and 390 rounds of small arms fire. Rifles, pistols, shotguns, not to mention the coffee cups and wrenches. Buckley was repaired in Boston. By July, she was back in the Atlantic. She continued hunting U-boats until the war's end. USS Buckley was decommissioned in 1946. She was eventually scrapped in 1968. But her legacy lived on. The Battle of the Atlantic was the longest continuous battle of World War II. It began on September 3, 1939, and lasted until May 8, 1945. Nearly 6 years. Over 3,500 Allied merchant ships were sunk. 175 Allied warships were lost. Nearly 80,000 Allied sailors, airmen, and merchant seamen died. Germany lost 783 U-boats and 28,000 U-boat crewmen. 70% of every German submariner who went to sea. Destroyer escorts like Buckley turned the tide. Small, fast, deadly. They protected convoys, hunted submarines, and fought with everything they had. This is what heroism looks like. Not the kind that happens in movies, but the kind that happens when sailors find themselves in an impossible situation and refuse to quit. The crew of USS Buckley didn't plan to fight hand-to-hand with a U-boat. They didn't train for it. But when their ship locked onto an enemy submarine, they did what American sailors have always done. They fought with everything they had. Guns, knives, coffee cups, whatever it took to win. If you want to hear more stories of American heroes who fought the impossible fight, hit subscribe. These men deserve to be remembered.